We have a lot to cover in today's video. First of all, we're going to be continuing on our series of 2017-18 season recaps and 2018 off-season plans. Today, we're discussing the Buffalo Sabres. Plus, we also have some channel updates and some hockey merchandise unboxing to do. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Alright, so as I mentioned off the top, we have a lot to cover in today's video, so we're going to try to get right into it here. First of all, a couple of quick updates, and then we're going to do a quick unboxing. Then we're going to jump into the Buffalo Sabres. So first of all, the quick channel update I want to let everybody know is that we're trying to take things here to an upgraded level, trying to improve everything, the overall quality of the videos here on Top Shelf Hockey. So we did purchase a new microphone. It's not being used in today's video, it's being shipped to me. So hopefully I'll have that here in about 2 or 3 days. So hopefully by the weekend or next week's videos, I'm hoping to have it in use and get used to it and hopefully have the audio improved. I know that's probably the area I want to focus on the most right now, is improving the audio. And then from there, we'll look at other things in the future. But that's the first step in kind of growing the channel and taking things to hopefully a better, higher level here. So just wanted to make note of that so you know that's on the way. So hopefully here, like I said, you'll notice a difference in the quality over the coming days. So stay tuned for that. So that's not the only shopping we did today. Of course, the microphone was purchased online through Amazon, so that's being shipped to me here. But we also made a little trip to the local Lids store. So obviously, we had some hockey merchandise purchased today, so I wanted to kind of show everybody what we picked up. Part of it was for our 1,000 subscriber giveaway that we completed here a couple of weeks ago. So I finally have the item. I've been looking around waiting for the right item. I've been in touch obviously with the lucky winner. His name is Darth New York Rangers is what he goes by here on YouTube. I've been in touch with him. We've kind of been keeping him up to date on how everything's going. And I finally have the item, and I'll be shipping this out either today or tomorrow. So it'll be on its way to him very soon. So let's take a look at what we got here. We got quite a good deal at Lids. I ended up getting a couple of the brand new Adidas hats here from Lids. Now I ended up getting more than one. I got one for the giveaway, and I got one for myself as well. They had a pretty good deal on. It was actually quite a fairly good savings to buy the second one. So I figured, hey, why not? Might as well treat myself as well. So let's have a look here. So the one I'm giving away, since what I did is with the giveaway is I figured I'll wait until the winner's announced, and because I wanted to make sure that they got a hat for their favorite team. He's a Rangers fan, so obviously that's the team he preferred. That way I want to make sure the winner got merchandise for their favorite team. So here is the big reveal. So this is the hat that I'll be giving away. So it's pretty nice, the new Adidas Rangers hat. I thought it was pretty sharp looking. I like the coloring and the stitching and everything. So that Darth is going to be on its way to you here very shortly. Like I said, hopefully I get that shipped out today, if not tomorrow, and hopefully you'll have that here in a few days. Now, while I was there, I also, like I said, made another purchase to add to my collection. I don't wear a lot of hats in my videos. I did in the beginning, but haven't been lately. But most of you probably know, you can probably tell by my colors here that I am first, my favorite team is the Senators. I do follow all teams, obviously, and I do support all teams, but the Senators are first and foremost my first love, I guess. So I ended up finding a nice new Adidas hat. I have obviously a bunch of other Senators hats I've collected over the years, but I don't have one with this logo. Which is, I really am fond of that logo myself. I think it's a little nicer than their other one, and of course where I have the black jersey, so these kind of go well together. So I thought that was a pretty good deal, and I got a good deal on both hats, so quite pleased with the purchase. So Lids, thank you very much. Now one last piece of channel news here before we jump into the Buffalo Sabres. I just wanted to let you know as well, you're going to be seeing some more special guests coming up here on the channel very soon. There's a large group of us here in the hockey YouTube community that are trying to work together and kind of keep in touch and kind of work on some collaborations together. So you're going to be seeing a lot of new special guests coming up here in the next little while. So a lot of them you may be familiar with, some of them you may not. So either way, hopefully it provides good content, might expose you to another YouTuber you might want to check out as well. But we've got a couple lined up as well here in the next probably week. There's probably going to be at least 3 special guests appearing on the channel, maybe a little bit more. There's still a few more projects that are in the early stages. We don't know exactly when they're going to be finalized and able to be posted yet, but stay tuned. There's lots of collaborations coming up soon. And with that in mind, you'll probably see me pop up on different channels as well. So obviously, like I said, there's a large group of us trying to work together and grow this hockey community as a whole. So a lot of us you may be familiar with, some you may not, but either way, trying to expose you to as many different hockey YouTubers as possible so you can enjoy even more great hockey content. Now let's jump in here to the Buffalo Sabres. Obviously, they had a miserable season. We're dead last in the NHL, which is not something that's new to them, unfortunately. This is not the first time this has happened. But at least this time, they were fortunate enough to come out with the #1 overall pick in the 2018 NHL Draft, which is going to be huge for them. Obviously, Rasmus Dahlin is going to be the player they select. And he's expected to be a generational type talent that can transform a franchise. So hopefully all the pain and suffering is slowly coming to an end here, and he can hopefully help get things turned around. Now let's take a look at a few more interesting stats here for the Sabres, and then we'll take a look at maybe how they should proceed this offseason with kind of trying to rebuild this team and make it better for next year. Obviously adding Dahlin is going to help, but they have more work to do than just one player. So let's take a look here now. Obviously, they finished with a 25, 42, and 12 record, 62 points, 31st overall. They were 31st in goals for, so obviously scoring goals was a problem. They were 29th in goals against, so keeping the puck out of the net. They weren't the worst, but they weren't far off. So obviously when you have trouble scoring and keeping it under your own net, that's a major problem. You're not going to have a whole lot of success that way. It's a recipe for failure for sure. Now, surprisingly though, they were slightly better in special teams. They ranked 20th on the power play and 22nd on the PK. So, you know, not great, but, you know, approaching the middle pack of the league. So it's a little bit surprising that their special teams actually did better than their 5-on-5 plays, by a fair bit actually. So, and they were actually 7th best in faceoff, which is a large part credit to Ryan O'Reilly, who is obviously one of the best in the NHL. And he's obviously a player that's been kind of circulating in trade rumors as well. As we all know, at the end of the season, O'Reilly was, you know, made some comments about a losing atmosphere, and you know that the kind of the work environment in the locker room. They just kind of got accustomed to losing, and you know, I don't have the exact quote for him right here at my fingertips, but you probably know what I'm referring to. And because of that, there's a lot of speculation that he'd be on the trade block for a potential move this summer, which I've heard lots of rumblings that maybe that's the case. But to be completely honest, they really need to be careful here. You know, the center depth is not something that they have a ton of, but they could have here shortly with some of their youngsters providing that extra depth. Obviously, Jack Eichel, Ryan O'Reilly is a pretty good 1-2 punch up the middle, and O'Reilly is a really strong two-way player, excellent on face-off. So if they move him, they're going to have to be careful what the return is, because he's a very unique player that a lot of teams are looking for. So from that aspect, there'll be a high demand. But at the same time, you want a guy like that on your team as well. So it is possible that he could be moved, but at the same time, I wouldn't 100% bank on it either. So we'll see what happens with O'Reilly. He's an interesting figure, but they have a lot of good youth here. Obviously, we saw them trade Evander Kane at the trade deadline. Didn't do too badly with the return. Could have been better though, in my opinion. Now with the Sharks re-signing Kane, that does generate a first-round pick for the Sabres as well, which will go into the 2019 draft. So obviously, you know, at least they get a decent return, but like I said, could have been better for sure. Otherwise, this season for the Sabres really was a lot of players were banged up, and not to say that they necessarily would have been tremendously better, but they probably would have been at least a little bit better for sure. I mean, Jack Eichel, again, ran into injury problems. Limited to 67 games, but he put up close to a point per game, so his performance was pretty good when he was in the lineup. But you can certainly argue, though, that Jack Eichel is a guy you can build around. You know, he is a top guy. So overall, I think Eichel's a pretty solid player. His big thing going forward, especially with that big contract, he needs to be able to stay healthy to help this team night in and night out. And it'll help him as a player grow, and it'll help the team get better as well. Obviously, they have a couple of guys, you know, in the back end that were banged up quite a bit. Actually, a lot of their decor was pretty banged up. I mean, Zach Bogosian's season was pretty much a write-off. You know, he's had a lot of injury problems during his young career as well. I mean, you had Josh Georges only appear in 34 games. Nathan Beaulieu was limited to 59 games. You also had Jake McCabe back there, limited to 53 games. So there's a lot of missed games on their decor for sure, and that did not help things as well. You know, you combine that with inconsistent goaltending between Leonard and Johnson. Both of them had a goals against average over 3. You know, Johnson had an .891 save percentage, or Leonard was 908. So, you know, inconsistent goaltending. Their defense missing significant amount of time, inconsistent goaltending, their top forward being out for a big enough chunk of the year, kind of spelled the recipe, like I said, for disaster for the Sabres. But hopefully this pays off, getting Dahlin into the mix here. So what are we going to see in the offseason? Obviously Dahlin's going to transform that back end, but we've been swirling with reports about potential trade rumors around players like Ryan O'Reilly and even Ristolainen. They're like, well, now that they have Dahlin, would they consider moving Ristolainen? It's like, seriously, I really don't think it's something they should look at myself. I mean, Ristolainen is still a pretty young defenseman with a pretty decent contract. He has a lot of potential still to keep growing, I think, as a player on the offensive side and defensive side. Ristolainen actually had a pretty decent year, played in 73 games, put up 41 points. Wasn't too bad. You look at him and Scandella back there, probably their most consistent defenders. Throw in Dahlin and some of these other guys can get healthy. Maybe that back end's not so bad. It's going to take a big step forward at the very least. I'd be very careful moving Ristolainen. Who says you can't have more than one young defenseman on the team that's, a top player that can produce at a decent level here? I mean, obviously you need more than one. Look at some of the teams that are contending for the Stanley Cup. You have a really big solid top four like Nashville, for example. You just can't have too many of these guys. So I'd be careful on Ristolainen. Up front, obviously they have some more bright spots coming as well. Casey Mittelstadt was a player that got into some games at the end of the year. Mittelstadt ended up playing in 6 games, put up 5 points, was getting more comfortable at the end of it. So I think he has potential to be a big star as well, which kind of, in part kind of drives the rumors around O'Reilly. Although, like I said, I think they should proceed with caution there. But, you throw in Eichel, maybe Mittelstadt can be a number 2. You have O'Reilly in there as well. So, I mean, could they potentially move him? It is possible, but, something like I said, they need to be careful. Maybe give Mittelstadt some more time as well to kind of grow into that role before they consider such a move. Probably would be very prudent to do so. Now, another youngster that could potentially make the lineup next year is Alex Nylander. And to be honest, I've been a little bit underwhelmed with Nylander's performance. He's looked pretty good when he's played in the World Juniors for Sweden, as well as other international hockey. When he's participated for Team Sweden, he's looked pretty good. But really, at the American Hockey League level, he hasn't really produced all that well, in my opinion. He's been into 116 games now to AHL. He's put up 18 goals, 37 assists for 55 points. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not, a high offensive prospect producing type level that you think they're ready for the jump to the NHL. So we'll see what he's ready for this year, and if he makes the big club, he's certainly another prospect that could jump into the Sabres lineup possibly this year, or at least get an increased number of games, even if he's not playing game in, game out all the time. Now, a few other things to keep your eye on, like I said, the goalie situation was very inconsistent. They could possibly end up next year with a whole new goalie situation. Chad Johnson's a UFA, so I think there's pretty good likelihood that he won't be back. Robin Leonard's an RFA. So I've heard some speculation he might not even qualify, but I don't think they'll go that far. They're not going to let him walk for nothing. But I think it is quite possible they may hand over the net to Linus Ullmark, or at the very least, Ullmark will be on the roster in either the starting role or the backup role next year. But Leonard's a guy who struggled with his consistency in Buffalo as well, and I wouldn't be completely shocked to see them trade him. If they do trade Leonard, they're going to want somewhat of a veteran guy coming back to be able to play with Ullmark if they go that route, but he's another guy to keep your eye on. So certainly another question mark around potential trade targets this year is Robin Leonard. Now they have a bunch of UFAs that probably won't return in my opinion. Let's take a quick rundown here of the players that are UFA status here as of July the 1. I mean, you've got Benoit Pouliot, you've got Jordan Nolan, Josh Georges, as well as Chad Johnson. I wouldn't be completely surprised if none of them return. Maybe you see one of them return on a cheaper short-term contract, but I seriously have my doubts. I think they're able to move on from all these guys, start fresh, and kind of go from there. But if you think about it, the main issue they really need to address is the goaltending situation. They need to decide how they're moving forward there. They can nail down our goaltender. That'll be a great start. They got Dahlin coming in from the draft, who will be a big help to their blue line. You throw him in there with hopefully some healthier guys back there. Things should at least improve. That should at least help the blue line improve. You inject some more youth and skill up front as well, with a full year from Casey Mittelstadt, possibly an Alex Nylander. Hopefully Jack Eichel stays healthy. Maybe they don't trade Ryan O'Reilly. There's a lot of moving parts there, but there's certainly, I think, a lot of reason to be optimistic if you're a Sabres fan. Based on how their youngsters really grow and develop here, there should be no reason why this team finishes last next season. So there's lots to look forward to, I think, in Sabres land. You've got Dahlin coming, you got a lot of other young prospects, so the future could be bright if this is managed well, and they bring in a few veterans to kind of offset that inexperience, and see how they move forward during the offseason from there. So if you're new to the channel, hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams. There's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. If you haven't done so already, check us out on Twitter. You're going to find our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We're very active on Twitter, so if you're on Twitter, check that out. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.